Host and a great governor of the state of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you all very much. Welcome to Albany. For those of you who are your first time, for those of you who are coming back, welcome back. First, I want to thank the Lieutenant Governor for doing an extraordinary job, not just with this industry, but with industries all across the state. He has really been fantastic. Let's give him a round of applause for his good work. We're pleased to be joined by the Assembly Speaker today, Sheldon Silver, who wanted to hear firsthand the issues of your community and your industry and how he could help. We're delighted to have him here because it means that the discussion that we have today is more likely to wind up with results tomorrow in legislation. My pleasure to have Speaker Sheldon Silver here. Senator Joseph Griffo is representing the Senate. Joe was not the reason we were late today. He was late, but he was not the reason that we were all late, and I just want to clarify that. Senator Joe Griffo, pleasure to be with you, Senator. We have Assemblyman Bill McGee, who's been a great champion of the agriculture industry. He's chairman of the commission. Assemblyman McGee, pleasure to be with you, sir. And we have the three horsemen who lead the way for the state's effort in this regard. We have the President and CEO of the Empire State Development Corporation, ESDC, Ken Adams. We have the Acting Commissioner of Agriculture, Richard Ball. And we have the Chairman of the State Liquor Authority, Dennis Rosen, Chairman Rosen. Let me say this just to get us started. 3.5 years ago, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy and I joined my colleagues here, the Speaker, both houses, the Assembly and the Senate, and we said we were going to try to govern a different way, that the state had serious issues that it was facing. The government wasn't being especially helpful. If anything, the government was being counterproductive, and we were going to try to govern in a fundamentally different way. And we did, and we set out to reform the government both inside and out. We had work to do inside the House. There was gridlock, which was commonplace in the state government, like in many other governments right now. Some of the agencies had the wrong attitude when it came to dealing with private industry. So we spent a lot of time working, what we said, inside the House, on the government side, and also on the outside, our relationship to private sector businesses all across the state. And we wanted to change that relationship. And we came up with a concept we called entrepreneurial government. Entrepreneurial government. And people said, well, that's an oxymoron. You can't have entrepreneurial government. And we said, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Why does it have to be that government is seen as a roadblock or as a frustrator of business? Why isn't it the other way around? Why isn't government a facilitator, a stimulator of private sector business? Because at the end of the day, for this state to do well, it's all about creating jobs. It's all about stimulating the economy. That's goal one for any government, certainly for this government. How do we get that economy running? And how does the state government help get that economy running? Why? Because it's about jobs, it's about local revenues, and because selfishly, we all have selfish motives, the state is a partner in each and every business that's represented here. That little 7% sales tax down at the bottom, when you do better, the state does better. So we've been changing the attitude, literally, of state government and changing the relationship. Now, your industry, we believed from the get-go, had tremendous potential for growth. That it was an industry whose time had come. It is a magnificent industry, not only in terms of potential, but the way it complements the rest of the state's economy overall. As you saw in the video, it speaks to the history of this state. It gives our personality a new dimension, a dimension that many people don't appreciate. And it's also a great synergy with one of the industries that's really leading this state, which is tourism. And tourism and your industry fit hand in glove. We've invested very heavily in the tourism industry over the past few years with great results. It was also, and it is, an industry that I know needs government assistance. Why? Because it is an industry that is heavily regulated by government with a vast regulatory framework that was designed, frankly, at a different time and a different place. The liquor industry, going back to Prohibition, was a very heavily regulated state activity and federal activity. And the industry changed dramatically, and frankly, the laws didn't keep pace with the rate of change in the industry. Farm distillery. Who ever heard of a farm distillery just a few years ago? So it's a challenge for government to adjust, to change, to transition, to make sure they are facilitating and they're partnering with the industry and they're not slowing the industry. How do you do it? You put everybody in a room, you put everyone around the table, and you have a conversation, and you find out how you can help. When you're in government, you have to give it a fancy name, so we call them summits. But you could call it a meeting, if you wanted to call it a meeting. And it works very well, because the preparation for today, the dialogue that began weeks ago when we started planning today, it all comes to fruition. But it has worked extraordinarily well. This is the second summit. Many of you were here for the first summit. That had great consequence and results, and we believe this summit is going to do no less. The proof is in the pudding, and it is working, and the investment is working. The numbers on tourism, first of all, are astonishing. The state invested $60 million in tourism advertising. The I Love New York advertising, regional I Love New York advertising, signage that you see now all throughout the state pointing to attractions, etc. We invested $60 million, which is a lot of money, and a lot of thought went into that type of investment. And my colleagues in the Assembly and the Senate decided to invest $60 million in tourism. Revenue in tourism for the state has gone up $4 billion. $4 billion. And the growth in your industry has been no less dramatic. You heard some of the numbers in the video. But the number of breweries in just 4 years increased 180%. Number of wineries increased 44%. Number of distilleries increased 200%. Number of cideries increased 380%. A little deceptive because we didn't start with all that many cideries, but factually accurate nonetheless. And listen to the increase in the number of jobs, all right, which is what's most important from our point of view. Breweries went from about 1,000 jobs to about 3,000 jobs. Wineries from about 2,800 jobs to over 4,000 jobs. Distilleries 395 to 982. And cideries from 114 to 385. So, it's working, and I believe we have even more to do. I also believe in not just, government's role is not just to be, to reform and not be an obstacle, but we also can be a major facilitator. A lot of your business is about promotion. And I think many of the other states historically have done a better job promoting the industry than New York has. I know California was very aggressive for years on the promotion of their industry. Oregon was very aggressive in promotion of their industry. And New York, we got off to a little bit of a late start. We started aggressively over the past couple of years. We have a major ad campaign now, but it's something we want to continue to invest in because we believe there's more dividends to reap. The agenda for today is very simple. We want to know what problems there are, what issues there are, and how we can help solve them. What ideas do we have for synergy? What combinations can we come up with that can help people grow? How do we develop relationships among the industry? And how does the state do a better job of promoting and assisting and convening and facilitating? That's what it's all about. As I said, the numbers and the growth has been phenomenal. If anyone had projected that growth 3 years ago, we would have said they were being overly optimistic. But it's a great product, it's a great state, and it's working. And the more we get the word out, the more people sample the product, the more people visit these locations, the better we're going to do. I am convinced of that. So it's just a factor now of doing it and making it happen. And that's what today is all about. And that's what your being here is all about. So we thank you for being here. And let's begin. With that, I'll turn it back to the Lieutenant Governor.